Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Erin with e.l.c. Homestead for everybody who's new. So I have decided to go ahead and plant, hold on, I got a bug crawling on me. Anyways, go ahead and plant some green beans, zucchini, and beets. I have 46 days until the first frost in my area, or when it's supposed to happen. Sorry, I can't talk today. There's no guarantee that's going to be when the first frost. It could be earlier, it could be later, but all of these vegetables that I'm planting take 55 days or less to ripen. So I'm going to chance it. It usually stays pretty warm in this area until the middle of October, end of October. But we have had some strange weather patterns this year. So I'll show you what I have done, and then I'll bring you back when I have finished cleaning my garden beds. So far this is what I've done. There's the second garden bed. If you watched my other video of my tomatoes, you've seen the kind of garden bed they were in. It looks like this. So all of this area right here was grown up with weeds that are like this, and then the other weeds right there. So what I've done to make this a little easier is I've turned the hose on to my garden bed, and I'm soaking all of these so they pull out, root and all, so it comes out a lot easier. And there are a lot of bugs in here. I was using my clippers. That's how I cleared all of this area that you see clear, and that took forever. So I will bring you back when I am all done cleaning the garden beds. Alright guys, so it is the next day. It took us quite a while to get this little garden area and my beds uncovered and the weeds down. So let me show you what we got accomplished, and then we will move on to hopefully getting the seeds in the bed, because as of today I have I think yesterday it was 9 days short from when the first frost is supposed to hit, and today makes 10, so I got to get them in there today, hopefully with the Idaho weather, because it is unpredictable that the frost date does not hit when it's supposed to, and it goes out at least another week. So let me turn you around here. Alright, so the weeds, we brought up the tractor and my husband mowed down the weeds, so now I have a very clear shot of all my animals. All of these tall weeds, it looks so much better. We can see where everything is, and I don't have to trample through them anymore. So my garden beds, were a little hard to find. This one over here being the hardest, it was really buried in the weeds. I had no clue where it was. It took a few minutes to find it, but we got everything done. We still have to get inside of that bed and get all the grass and stuff out. But this bed, we got everything out of it except like a weed, but it is ready to plant. And then that one over there, I have a couple of leaves I got to get out of it and one weed, and then that one's ready to go. So I didn't find many plant-eating bugs in these gardens, so that made me very happy. We did find a couple of praying mantises, so we put them on our tomatoes. They're really good to keep the bugs down, like aphids and stuff. And I think the only other bug that we found was, other than spiders, which they have seemed to have left. I haven't seen them today. We found something, it's called a chigger bug. I think that's what they are. They're a little black bug, but I don't think they eat plants. So I'm not too worried about my seeds getting ate. I was going to go down and get soil to put in these beds, but it seems like there's plenty of soil in them already. I will, however, go down and get some diatomaceous earth and put on the beds after I get done planting. Well, it'll be a few days before I put it on there. Diatomaceous earth is safe for animals and your plants, and it's supposed to be really good at killing bugs. I've never used it personally, but this is going to be the first time I use it. It's supposed to be, I guess, all natural, no chemicals in it, and I don't like putting a lot of fertilizer in my garden. So we'll see what happens, but let's get to planting. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and work on this bed first. Hopefully you guys can see that. I just need to get my gloves. So there is some raking that we still need to do to get some of the loose weeds that we cut down out of here. But for right now, not going to worry about that. Now I normally don't garden with my gloves, but there's goat heads in here, so today we're gardening with gloves. And I have 3 different things that we're going to plant, so all the garden beds will be taken up. So one of the first things we're planting is zucchini. Take my gloves off right quick again. So all of my seeds are from In My Gardener. So we're doing zucchini, and we're doing jade beans. We're going to do a blue lake bush bean, and then we're doing 2 different types of beet, the Detroit dark red and the early wonder tall tops. And we're also going to do strike bush beans. We're going to plant all the beans in this garden bed, and then the beets down below it. I'm not sure. I'm only going to plant probably 3 zucchini plants. I don't need a whole lot of zucchini. I'm only planting it for zucchini bread. But I am going to plant as many neighbor drives by the dog's barking. I am going to plant as many green beans and beets that I can get. Just going to work up the soil a little bit. Make sure there's not anything in it that doesn't need to be in it. Just seeing a wire. The previous owners had drip irrigation in here, and I don't know what that is. That looks like a rock. See what that is. It's a big rock of some sort, so won't plant anything down there. Alright. Actually, the soil doesn't look bad, so go ahead and get it smoothed out again. I'm just going to make 2 rows at the corner of the hoe here. One on both sides of the bed. Just cover them up as we go. Now I'm going to just alternate the green beans on the variety. I do believe that's probably going to be the best way. I'll plant like strike beans up, well, I don't know, yeah, I guess I'll do strike beans up front, We'll do the jade beans in the middle and the bush beans toward the end, staying away from that big rock. Instead of alternating the seeds. That way I know what plant does better. And I did only buy 1 pack of every seed. It's because I hadn't finished my order yet before we found out where we're going to move. I'm only planting them probably 4 to 6 inches apart. And I'm only going to plant 8 a piece. So I don't need, green beans are luckily very prolific, and I don't need a whole bunch of seeds planted. Alright. Maybe we'll plant them a little closer. So these ones I'm planting are jade. We're going to plant these ones a little closer. That I'm going to have to make a row in the middle. We're just going to do 6 of those. I think that's what I'm going to have to do because I can't plant at the end over here because of that big rock. I'm going to have to make a middle row, which is fine. There's enough room. We'll just do it gently. I don't want to cover up the seeds quite yet. Alright. We'll plant the blue lake bush right in the middle. That'll hopefully be easy to keep track of. And make sure we space them. Keep them with the other. There's a worm in here. That's always helpful. I got my string beans. Usually I go down to the store and get night crawlers out of the bait section and dump in my garden. Those worms are really good for your garden. They help aerate the soil. They eat all kinds of little buggies. Alright. All the beans are planted. Let's go ahead and cover them up very carefully. I don't have my gloves on and I don't want to hit a goat head. If you guys are lucky enough to live in an area where there are no goat heads and you don't know what they are these little stickers. They little round sticker with points coming out at all different directions. They look like one of those medieval torture weapons. They're horrible. And to step on them or to get them in your fingers, it's like the worst thing ever. I'd rather step on Legos than step on one of them. So we're not burying these very deep. We're just putting a light layer of dirt over them. Deep enough to hopefully not let the birds get them. That's what happened to my beans last time. Last year when I did beans, the birds came along and ate all of my seeds. So my beans didn't grow very well. I'm hoping I don't get too much dirt on them, but still enough to keep the birds from digging them up. Alright. Bed 1 is done. We'll go ahead and move on to the bed behind me where I'm going to put the beets at. I'm tripping over all kinds of rocks. This place is really good about growing rocks. They're kind of crooked, but I'm leaning it up against a tomato cage because we're on a hillside. I'm hoping when we get the garden completely done next spring that we can kind of level out some of these beds so I have flatter walking areas. So this bed wasn't too bad either. Just a bunch of leaves in it. I'm going to kind I'm going to scrape them all to one end. I'm going to pick through it. Stickers that were in here out of here. All kinds of sheetgrass in here too. I don't know when the last time these beds were planted in, but the soil is, it looks pretty good for sitting in weeds. I am surprised. Let's get some of these rocks out of here. Because I ran water in them yesterday, I have to fill in some of the holes because the water washed out part of the bed. I had to run the water in them yesterday to loosen up the big old tall weeds because they weren't coming out being wet first. That's why my husband had to do the last bed, because I couldn't get any of the weeds to break loose. Alright, I'm going to fill up this hole. Now I haven't really had much luck in the past growing beets. A few obstacles. One, the last house that I was at, the ground was really hard for any sort of root vegetable to grow well. And then the birds were always eating them. So I just haven't had too much luck with beets. I'm hoping with these raised garden beds that changes. This is the first time I've ever planted in a raised garden bed. And we're going to be making more for next year for all of the root vegetables. Alright, so we're just going to do the same thing. For the beets, I'm going to make probably 3 rows. So I can sprinkle them kind of far apart. Beet seeds are very, very small, but they need quite a bit of room to grow. So we have a decent sized beet. You're going to see about in this bed. Luckily, I didn't find a big old rock at the bottom or at the back end of it. I'll have to have help getting that other rock out. That takes up quite a bit of that bed. All right, so we got 3 rows done there. Let me take the gloves off. Again, we're just going to plant both of my seeds. That was a spider, it was a fly on me. Let's see how many. Yeah. So you can see how little these seeds are. So we're just going to kind of sprinkle them and then cover them. I'm not going to put a big thick layer of dirt over the top of them because they don't need it. But I am going to spread them out as evenly as possible. And do 1 whole row of the Detroits and a half a row of the Detroits, and then 1 whole row of the other brand. So I am just going to go ahead and sprinkle. There's not that many beet seeds in a packet, so there wasn't that many left. So the other half This front half and this back row are going to be the early tops. Right here. There seems to be more bugs in this bed than in the other bed. Alright, so because there was more goat heads in this bed, I'm going to put my gloves back on to cover them up. Get some dirt from the sides over here to cover the side rows. So we knock it all down. I'm glad I'm able to get this done today because it is supposed to rain all week and you don't really want to plant in very wet beds. So the rain will help keep this watered in pretty good for the rest of the week. And then hopefully I'm right about the bugs and they don't go eat all my seeds, but this is just a chance we're gonna have to take. All right, we're gonna be on to the third bed. And this is the bed that's going to take most of the work. Alright, hopefully you guys can see this bed. I'm having to set my camera in my tomato garden to angle it on this bed. This bed is covered in goat heads. Not as... It's worse than that bed, but we'll get it. So these nippers are what I was using to nip the weeds down at the ground, which came in quite handy. And then this is what we found in all the beds, which is the irrigation drip system that the previous owners had in it. We're not going to be using this, so we just toss it over there. Hopefully I can get there we go, that puppy up. I didn't wet this bed down yesterday because I couldn't find it. The soil in it is way drier than the other soil. Oh, there's a big old rock at the end of this one. Huh. That's okay. We're actually not gonna... Hopefully it doesn't go too far over. I just won't plant on that end. Alright. The soil is really dry. I have to remove most of this top layer, just full of goat heads. I sucked a bug down my throat. A lot of sheetgrass in this one as well. Okay. I've clearly disturbed some kind of bug since it flew in my ear. Garden bed's beating me up today. Hopefully it didn't go down my ear canal. Alright. There's a hole over here. My dogs hear me outside if they can't see me, so now they're gonna bark. Alright, we're just gonna plant 3 zucchini. It's gonna be right here on this edge, or end. Soil looks pretty good in this bed as well. Wanna make sure I loosen it up. Alright, let's get the zucchini seeds for this one. Really feels like there's a bug in my ear. I'm sure there's not, but it's just where it flew landed at. Anyways, these zucchini are the Black Beauty zucchini. This is the brand I always get, or the kind of zucchini I always get. And we're only going to plant, I might do 4. Just kind of do them in a square right here. I'm not making rows, I'm just pushing them down. We're going to cover them up. And then we'll put 4 or 2 more down here. A total of 4 zucchini plants in here, and that should be good. Something was crawling my arm and it bit me, one of these little black bugs. I don't know what they are. Hopefully it doesn't make my arm go numb, because it's already starting to. Alright, now we just gotta water them in. Get the hose. I will be back. Alright, so I got the hose. We're just gonna go ahead and water these in. Whew. I'm not going to get them too saturated because I don't want to wash them out through the bottom of the bed. Just enough to give them good water. See how it's pooling up right there at that side? That's why I need to level them out a lot, because that's never good for your garden beds to have them pooling. All right, go ahead and, I think my tomatoes are actually wet enough. I might go ahead and give them a little bit of water. Never want to overwater your tomatoes. You see the yellow? That's kind of from overwatering. So that's good for that. All right, so the beets, beans, and zucchini are in. I am really hoping that I have enough time to get a crop off of them. I'm really pushing it, like really pushing it. It takes 7 to 10 days to germinate. So in about a week, I'll bring it back out so we can see the progress of it. And then the zucchini, it says anywhere from 50 to 60 days to ripening, and the beets and beans is 55 days to ripen. So I'll be crossing my fingers and make sure that the frost date pushes out about a week or so later than it's supposed to be here. So if you like videos like this, please like and subscribe. This is the very small 2025 garden, and next year it's going to be bigger. So thanks for watching. Until next time.